Hey, welcome to the CMO Whisper Show. I'm your host, Steve Olensky. Part marketing practitioner, part ad agency veteran, part journalist. I was a writer for Forbes for 10 years. I've had so many insightful conversations over the years with business leaders, to athletes, to celebrities, to, of course, CMOs. The only difference now is instead of sharing those insights through written form, I'm doing it this way. My guest this week is Joseph Perello, founder and CEO of Props. Props is a performance-based creator marketing platform built around a simple belief. The best marketing still comes from people, not metrics. Instead of chasing follower counts, Props uses AI to match brands with creators based on storytelling strength, trust, and audience authenticity. So campaigns are both data-driven and deeply human. AI does the heavy lifting in the background, brand safety, workflow, and precision, while real human creators stay in front and center. Before launching Props, Joe built and ran a digital agency serving brands like Nike, HP, Lowe's Hotels, Betterment, and even Michelle Obama. And earlier in his career, he served as New York City's first CMO under Mayor Bloomberg, helping revitalize tourism and launching the city's first self-sustaining marketing agency. Finally, let's just wrap it up. Joe sits at the intersection of brand, policy, tech, and creative. I'm so happy. I spent a few minutes with him at Advertising Week not long ago, and we're going to continue that great conversation. You're going to be the benefit of it because we're going to record it. Joe Perello, my new friend, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Steve. You forgot the Yankees, and I'm figuring it's because you're from Philly.
I chose to leave that out. Your Yankees are in the same place my Phillies are watching the World Series at home. Okay.
Yeah, good to be here. Thank you for having me.
You are very welcome, my friend. And I want to just go right into the deep end. And I want to start at the evolution of creator marketing. So before we get into now, though, I want to zoom out for a second. So the creator economy has gone from, quote, brand awareness with big influencers to performance-driven creators who can actually move outcomes. And that's a big shift, right? Strategies, budgets, and even who gets chosen has changed. First question. What was the single biggest unlock that pushed creator marketing from awareness to a measurable performance channel?
That's a great question. I like to think that Props has made a difference in moving creator marketing from squishy metrics to CFO level metrics. And I think inevitably, I think any new channel, right, starts off exciting and sort of top of the funnel. And then as investments grow, then the natural evolution of budget scrutiny requires more bottom of the funnel proof, right? So while I think we did push people down the bottom of the funnel because we were able to drive measurable business results. I think the industry would have inevitably gone to a place where you're going to have to show business results, and out of the world of sort of followers, likes, I'll just call it in platform results, like in Instagram or in Facebook, and more on the brand's platform, on their website, like on their sales. How is your creator marketing impacting their sales? And we played a big role in moving brands that way, and we continue to. I think brands are now catching up to how we do creator marketing. Where in 2019, when we first pitched it, they were like, "We don't know what you're talking about, but it sounds really good, and you seem like a good guy, so let's do it."
Yeah. When did you first see brands like stop chasing that celebrity in wanting
Well,
business
they're
results?
I mean they're still doing it. I mean, I don't think that's going to end. And I think you use the right word. We separate celebrity from followers, right?
Mm.
Celebrity using celebrities has some risk, but it's always worked. It's always going to work. You got to do it right, like everything else. You got to do it right. Direct mail works. Just got to do it right. So what's different about Props is we're separating followers, essentially eliminating followers as a viable means of distribution. Because when you find creators, right, you're in the old world, you're looking for, hey, who can make really good content, and then who can distribute it to the right people. So you're asking influencers to do two things. make good content that
Mm-hmm.
makes me look good, and then distribute it. We're only asking them to do one thing: make really good content. And so that frees us up to find creators who are actual experts,
Yeah.
who have actual credibility, who can tell a great story, because we don't care about their followers, because we're going to use paid media to distribute their content to exactly the right people. That you can distribute content or ads using paid advertising. Like the pipes of paid advertising are amazing. They're astounding. Like, my prediction is in 18 months, the biggest marketers are going to know who all the people are, and they're going to know three ways to reach them, right? Your phone, your TV at home, and maybe one other device. So the issue is no longer going to be, how do I find these people, right? Which was the biggest issue. It is going to be, how do I get them to respond, right?
Yeah.
Or react.
Yeah.
And so creative in the ad world and content in my world is the only thing that actually matters. You have to put compelling stories in front of people, because people respond to stories 5 to 10 times more than they respond to ads. Nobody, whenever I say that, no one says, "Oh, you're wrong. Ads are better." No, no,
Right.
that's number one, right? Number one is stories are better. Number two is people trust people more than they trust brands or institutions. Since 1967, trust in brands and institutions has declined, according to Pew Research. So we, as you mentioned in the front, we lead with the content creator who's an actual human, who has an actual point of view, who can tell actual stories about, for instance, being on the road trips, or adventure travel, which happens to be a great way to attract prospective AAA members. It's very simple. And then the last thing, see, that really sort of connects the dots for the performance marketing nerds out there, is all the content lives on our client's website directly. We don't try and get people to engage with the content in Instagram or Meta or LinkedIn or TikTok. We want to drive them from TikTok to our client's website so that they can engage with the brand there. And then we can do all kinds of things to them, if you will. We
Yeah.
can pitch news stories. We can pitch them endorsements, which we do. We drive them down the funnel and cause them to convert. So we're very, very different from the typical sort of influencer marketing platform. And as we say, we pretend that we work for the CFO. So at the end of the month or end of the quarter or end of the year, is the CFO going to be happy with what we did? And the answer is yes. The CFO is happy.
Yeah. What have brands, in your opinion, had to unlearn, if you will, in order to make creator marketing actually work as a performance lever?
Yeah, another great question. I think brands were sort of hypnotized to drive engagement on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok. There was this sort of mind virus, to use like Elon
I
Musk
love that.
words, right? Of like, we need more likes, we need more followers, we need more likes, we need more followers. And for a while, that was actually the right strategy, because if you had a lot of followers, you sort of got quote unquote free distribution, right? Because if you had 10 million followers and you put a little post up, 10 million people would see that.
Mhm.
So for a while, that made, reasonable sense. And then all the platforms changed how the algorithms work and how sharing works and how organic content works. And they said, no, it's more like 10%, because if you really want to sell stuff, you got to pay us. And that's why the
Mm.
best brands are combining authentic content creators with paid media, right? The best
Yeah.
brands are doing both, because Facebook's not going to give you a free lunch. Meta's not going to give you a free lunch.
No.
But the best brands also know that people respond to stories more than they respond to ads. The best brands know that people trust people more than they trust their own brand or institutions, right? And so they're combining these worlds of authentic content creation by real people with all the precision and the scale and the accountability of paid media. You got to put those two things together.
So you mentioned that stat that 5 to 10 times storytelling outperforms ads, which is insane. And I'm fascinated with all this, the evolution, if you will, in media sophistication and everything that we do now. In your opinion, why does creative storytelling still outperform?
I think that, I mean, well, look, me personally, I did research and looked at Pew Research,
Hmm.
which is widely available. And I have theories about why people are trusting it. But if you look at the brand or institution trust graph on Pew, it starts declining like after JFK gets assassinated. And then it starts declining again when MLK and RFK are assassinated and Vietnam is in the news. And then it drops precipitously when Nixon resigns. So these are all historical cultural moments that are facts that have slowly eroded trust in institutions. And then as younger people become more independent, right, and more, I have opinions too, which really, if you think about it, didn't really exist post-war America, right? There was no youth culture in pre-war America. There was just culture.
Yep.
There were no cars, really. People didn't have, I mean, there were cars, but teenagers didn't have cars. There was no popular radio. There was no real rock and roll. There was just culture. And then post war, there was youth culture. There was a separate culture around youth. And as you and I know, young people are skeptic, which is a good thing.
Yep.
And so when these things that sort of our normal culture, the established culture took for granted, young people were really growing up and saying, wait a minute, what my mom and my dad were thinking is bullshit.
Yes.
Okay, it's bullshit. And so this has not gone away. And so when we say people trust people more than they trust brands or institutions, in my mind, right, as the amateur anthropologist that I am, that is what has eroded their trust. And it's the basis for how we go about creator marketing, and it's the basis for why creator marketing has grown because of this distrust.
Okay, let me throw a monkey wrench a little bit in there because
Okay.
consumer. Well, first of all, let me preface what I'm about to say. Babe, marketers completely, in my opinion, underestimate the knowledge of a consumer. Meaning, the consumer knows we marketers we're trying to sell you something. Okay, that's not a secret, right? We get it. I mean, consumers are a lot smarter than we think. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay. Now, building off that, when a consumer sees a creator, an influencer representing a given brand, right? There's probably a natural assumption that there is some kind of compensation happening
Yeah.
between the brand and the creator. So, how can brands protect that authenticity? How does it
Right.
not feel like a script? And that may be the magic elixir, but that to me seems like a really big deal.
Yeah. It's a good question. So the answer is it depends. The best companies that we've seen are using content creators to tell stories that are relevant to their brand or their experience, but they're not selling,
Mm,
right? Some content creators are just telling a story that's relevant to the brand's experience. Now, further down the funnel, right, those stories will be more of an endorsement, right, of an ad. But at the top of the funnel, right, the best in the business are just telling relevant stories. For example, this is an interesting example. If you want to sell a home equity line of credit,
mhm.
okay, what you would say are rates, maybe a special technology that the company has, maybe a fast approval rate, right? All sort of product and price focused. The best way to sell a home equity loan is to talk about redoing your kitchen.
Mhm.
That's the best way. There's no better way to get a qualified person to your website and then pitch them on the rates and the features is by pitching a story by an expert about how to redo your kitchen.
Right.
For example, right? And the creator should be an expert designer. And you know why? Because you're going to attract someone who owns a home, because nobody who is renting is going to redo their kitchen. And most of the people take out home equity loan to redo their kitchen. And so you're going to get the right person. And by the way, you didn't sell a damn thing. All you did is talk about your kitchen. You do it on your website, now you got them, right? So That is authentic storytelling in my mind, right, to a T. And then the creator may say, hey, you should try this bank because they have really good
Yep.
rates, blah blah blah. And then you sell.
It's such a simple example, but that's what makes it perfect.
It is. It's like when look, when we do this, right? This is what we do. When we say here's how we're doing, people are like, I wish I'd thought of
Now, if you hit them over the head to keep your analogy going, we have the lowest APR. Blah, blah. Stop. People can
that.
find low APRs. Hit them emotionally, what they can do with that home equity loan.
Exactly. You could just go into Google or go into Chat GPT or like go to the 6 zillion loan aggregator sites and find the lowest price. But that
Yep.
takes work.
Yep. How do brands, or the smartest brands, I guess, how do they earn? And I'm going to put you in front of a room full of CMOs right now. Hey, this is great, but how do I earn credibility when I work with creators without, like, I guess, smothering the message, if you will?
Well, I think number one is when you pitch a story to an audience, if that story is about redoing your kitchen, right, versus or a great product, right, you're already a step above because the reason why people love content, quote unquote content, so much is because it's giving something to the audience. Whereas ads are really asking for something from the audience,
Right.
right? Content's
Yeah.
giving. So you're automatically you have the high ground. You're giving information or entertainment or inspiration or knowledge. So step one is, you're already ahead of the game from a
Mm.
trust and a credibility standpoint. Now, that's provided that you've vetted the content creators and they're not insane and they're not racist, so they're not crazy, right? And they don't say stupid things, which is not that difficult today, especially if you're using, AI to help you do that. So, assuming you've done all that, you're getting high quality, content creators, and they're telling really good stories, and you've earned the credibility, you've earned the trust right at the start.
Interesting. We talked about paid media before it came up, and we're at a really interesting intersection right now where paid media and creator content, they're no longer separate, right? They're definitely blended. And the precision of paid targeting with the humanity, if you will, of creator storytelling, that's where wins are happening, as you know as well as anybody. Does anything change, or should it change, when creator content is also treated like a performance media?
Number one is you've got to change. You've got to make content for every level of the funnel because people consume. They don't consume content the way we think they buy, right?
Mm.
People who are in the market, they don't need the story. They just want to buy. People who are not in the market, they may need some inspiration. They may need to know that this exists, right? So the first thing is if you make content for the top of the funnel only, you're going to get top of the funnel results. If you make content for the bottom of the funnel, you're going to get very expensive bottom of the funnel results. If you make content for every level of the funnel, you're going to do really well. The other thing is sort of attitude, Steve. This is sort of different. You have to have the right attitude. Our chief client officer, I'll give Lee a plug for a second.
Mhm.
He was from Hearst and Yahoo and Time Inc. before that, right? He's a great guy, really funny. When he started at Props, he's like, Joe, the content industry is allergic to responsibility. They're allergic to being held to account for some result. And that's what's different about your attitude in your company. I was like, Lee, that's genius. No one's ever put it to me that way. And so I would say, like, you have to have the right attitude going into an engagement, right? Or an approaches. Don't be allergic to driving results. Don't be allergic to being held to account. Because if you start there saying, I'm willing to be accountable, then you're going to make sure you're choosing the right creators, making the right content, tracking it all properly,
Right.
setting expectations the right way. It just sets the stage for proper accounting right out of the gate.
It just sounds so incredible that you literally had to say the words, don't be afraid to be allergic to results.
Yeah,
Like,
no, well, yes, they
you know what I
were.
mean?
They're
Like,
allergic to results. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to be held to account for
right.
results. It's okay. You'll do great.
Exactly. And it's such a great word that he used, right?
Yes.
Because it just summarizes, like, oh no, oh, I can't touch that.
Right.
I'll break out in hives.
Yeah. And there's another great podcast on this. I think it was the Freakonomics guys, right? And they did this whole study. This is a long time ago, but the people at Yahoo, when they were selling banner ads, right, on
Mhm.
Yahoo, they would say, hey, you know, you're going to get 50 million people are going to go to the website, and we could actually track the clicks for you. Right. And the client was like, we don't want you to tell us what the clicks are, because that would mean we would have to report on clicks, and we don't want to do that. That's being accountable.
Oh my God. And it sounds so counterintuitive.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. You
incredible.
can't be afraid. You can't be
You
afraid.
can't be afraid. Exactly. I'm going to use a word here, soul, in the context of creative soul. How do
Okay.
brands keep that creative soul when they start to optimize and A/B test and they tie it to ROAS? Right?
Yeah.
It's a balance, right?
Yeah. It's a really good question. I think there is a place for soul, and it is in the creator search and content selection space. And then there is a place for science.
Mm.
And the science is what sort of results did you get? And so the soul is in the beginning, right? Because you want to find creators. If you're a bank, I don't know where soul plays.
Mm.
It does, right? Like I said, like the redoing your kitchen, you could do that with some soul. I
Sure.
mean, I don't know how much, but it depends on the product. I think that the place for soul is in the curation and story selection space, and the place for science is in the optimization. And then you can optimize, Steve, for the right objective.
Mm-hmm.
So if your objective is cheap subscribers at any cost, that's good. You're going to optimize for one thing. If
Mm.
your objective is high lifetime value clients, you'll pay a little bit more for that. Then a piece of content with some soul may be the thing that you need. So it really depends on what you're optimizing for in the performance marketing space.
Right. It's almost cliche time, but it is case by case.
Yeah, it is. What are the business goals?
Right.
So soul may be great for retention or loyalty or renewal. It may not be the best thing for acquisition.
Good point. Right. The context, is it contextually relevant to the goal?
Yes, because if someone's already bought into your brand, right, and they're already using your brand, and you want to make sure they don't leave, and you want to make sure they don't. You might want to say, hey, I wish they would use us more. Well, you don't need a technical argument for them. They've already bought in,
Right.
right?
Right.
So you may want to use something with more emotion.
Yeah. Yeah. And don't complicate it.
Exactly. Yeah. Keep it simple.
Keep it simple. I don't know where I heard this term. It might have been from you. I don't know. The follower fallacy.
Yeah,
And
I started off really that way, where I
yeah, I
think I
mean,
think
well, I was just going to say, brands we both know forever. The brands chase the biggest follower counts, right? Numbers,
yeah.
quantity, and then they realized those audiences were passive, misaligned, or just dead. No offense. Now the focus has shifted from how many people saw it to who actually cares. So, first question under the follower fallacy umbrella is: what's the biggest misconceptions brands still have about follower counts?
Yeah. Number one is followers are an unreliable source of distribution. The reason why people liked followers in the past is because people saw things for free, quote unquote free, right? So it was a means of distribution at one point. Here's what's changed. Number one, there's lots of bots, right? So maybe 30% of the followers aren't actual people. Number
Mm-hmm.
two is you don't really know who they are. Where are they? You don't really know who the followers are. Number three, you only see 10% of the followers. So if you have 1 million followers as a successful influencer, and you share a piece of content about this show, only 100,000 people of those followers are going to see it, not 1 million. So it is an unreliable form of distribution, and it shouldn't be used as a gauge for whether influencers are valuable or not. That's different than shareability.
Mm.
Okay, shareability is driven by really two things. One is the person a celebrity? That doesn't mean that you have a lot of followers that you're a celebrity, and just because you're a celebrity, you may not have a lot of followers. Celebrity is a separate thing. Celebrity is a big driver of shareability. The other part of shareability is, number one is it controversial? Brands don't want to be controversial.
Right.
Second is it funny? Usually, funny on the internet is almost always at the expense of someone else.
Yeah.
So, Okay, now look, I don't have any science behind what I'm saying, Steve. It's just I'm a consumer of
Hmm.
social media, and I know what gets shared and what gets propagated by the algorithm, and it's usually something controversial or something funny at the expense of another person. And neither of those things are acceptable to CMOs, right?
Right.
To go viral. Now, look, there are exceptions, right? And those exceptions are amazing. The exceptions are amazing, and those are basically hits. I call them hits,
Mm.
right? So you're in the music industry. You got to make 15 songs for one hit, and if you want to be in the virality space, right, you got to be in the hit business, and the hit business is unpredictable and very hard to do unless
Hmm.
you're Rick Rubin, right? If you're Rick Rubin, you could rip out hits, and there's like 4 Rick Rubins in the world,
Yep.
and none of them are in the advertising industry. So this is my case for coupling compelling creators with predictable paid media, right? Because you're in business, and you're not in the music business, and you're on the entertainment business, which accounts for hits.
Yeah.
You're in the credit card business, or the banking business, or the insurance business, right? Or in the e-commerce business, and you need to sell things every single day. So
Yeah.
you can't leave it. You can't leave it to chance.
So what metrics do you should replace follower count? That's like kind of the North Star when a brand's selecting a creator.
Well, I think, look, some followers shows that you can put a sentence together and you can
Hmm.
tell a good story, right? So some followers is a good indication, but
Right.
that's not the benchmark for how much we're going to pay you. The way you select creators is based on can they tell a good story?
Mm.
What's their aesthetic, right? It's easy to really understand their aesthetic. What's their expertise? Do they know a lot about knitting, or do they know about fly fishing, or do they know about interior design? Like, what's their focus? It's more qualitative.
Okay.
And then there are AI. We built an AI to make sure that these people are legitimate,
Sure.
and then we're also using AI to make sure that they're staying within the bounds of the compliance requirements of whatever brand we're working for. So
By
that's
the way,
necessary too.
this might be the longest I've gone in a recording that those 2 letters have not been brought up to AI.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's important. It's
Of course it
important.
is.
We use it. Everyone's using it. You've got to use it. It's integrated into our platform. There's not many processes inside Props, our company, that does not use AI.
Sure.
But there is, we're our approach, our attitude. I don't know if this is your question, but our attitude was, let's use it so that high value people can stay focused on high value tasks,
I like that.
like curation. you
Yeah.
know Creator curation is a very, very important. It's high value. It requires taste. Like an editor of a magazine
Sure.
needs to have taste. And these people are important people, and we recruit them from the best in the business, and we invest in them because they have a sensibility,
Right.
and we're counting on that sensibility. We're going to use AI, right, to do all the grunt work.
Of course, which makes them even more productive.
It does, yeah.
All right. It's time for some fun. It's time for the random 5. If you've heard any
Okay.
of my episodes,
Do
it's
I?
5.
What do I have? Do I put the helmet on or something?
Yes.
What do I have to do?
Yes. Yes, and you cannot get out of this. These are 5
Okay.
personal questions. 5
Okay.
so the audience gets to know you better. Here we go. Number 1. Before you led or did anything in marketing, what did you think younger you were going to be when you grew up? Did you have anything when you were a kid?
Oh, when I was a kid, what did I
Yeah.
think I was going to do?
Yeah, what did you
Well,
want to do?
when I was a kid, I just wanted to be my dad. I just wanted to have a nice car, put nice suits on, and go to New York City. He was in the print advertising business in like the 60s, 70s, and 80s, right? So the heyday
Yeah, the Mad
of
Men.
print
Yeah.
advertising at the latter end of the Mad Men field.
Yep.
Was an amazing sales guy, was wonderful, had great relationships with people, drove into the city, wore Paul Stewart suits, So when I was a kid, I had no idea what my father did, but I was like, I don't know, I want to have a gold American Express card, drive a Cadillac Eldorado, wear Paul Stewart suits and go into the New York City and schmooze with people.
Oh my
That's what I
God.
wanted to do.
That's awesome. And I think I might know the answer to this next question, but maybe not.
Okay.
Who is one person outside of work who shaped how you lead or how you show up? Is it your dad?
Outside of work,
Yeah.
yeah, it was definitely my dad,
Yeah.
without a doubt. And then
Mm.
having two sons
Hmm.
shaped sort of, you have to sort of take what you think is natural, and then you have to like put it into words and put it into action.
Hmm.
And when I had sons, I sort of realized what kind of man I was.
Hmm.
And I didn't really know until I had kids, and I had to like set the right example, right? And so, that it's not quite answering the question, but
No,
definitely
it's
my dad in terms of not work, in terms of the not professional space. My dad and also his friends
hmm.
who I played golf with when I was like 18, 19, or 20 years old, his friends were universal in their wish that they had started their own company when they
Wow.
were young.
How about that?
They were all successful guys, all wonderful. I grew up in North Jersey. They were all amazing guys, great family men, lovable, successful. And they all said, I wish I had started my own company, because they were getting to the age where I see it today. They wwere getting to around 50. They were all sort of highly paid.
Hmm.
And, their necks were on the chopping block in big corporations.
Yep.
And so Steve, I never forgot their faces when they said they wished they had started their own company.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
That really is. And you probably didn't realize it at the time, but as you got older and you started your own
Yeah.
company, that entered your subconscious for sure.
Yeah, and my father never did either. He was very successful as a, print sales guy
Right.
in New York City, extremely, and made a wonderful living. Like sent us all the. I went to private school. My sister and brother, we went to college. He paid for everything.
Yeah.
We had a great childhood, but he didn't own the company.
Different generation.
Yeah, totally
Different.
different
My
generation.
father was the
Exactly
same way.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same way. Okay, next one. What's a book, show, or movie that everyone swears is brilliant and you secretly think is overrated?
I thought you were going to ask me what is brilliant.
That's too easy. I want you.
What's overrated? What is overrated? You're going to have to edit out all my thinking here, Steve.
That's okay. No,
I
this is
think, I think today
mhm.
magazines are overrated,
Magazines
and
in general.
they were
Okay.
once a source of knowledge
Hmm.
that came close to books,
Interesting. Okay.
and they are no longer a good source of knowledge, with the exception of some good, magazines like The Economist
Right.
is probably still good.
Okay.
And I think the reason why they're no longer a place where you can get knowledge faster than you could a book is because in order to be successful, they really have to pick a side.
Mm, good point. Which that means you eliminate half of your theoretically. Yeah.
Right, right. So I think that form of medium where I grew up reading it and really, getting smart. Maybe there was a bias in there, but
Yeah.
you didn't need a bias in order to sell magazines. You could
No.
just be a straight shooting
No,
magazine.
it's an
So
interesting
I think
answer.
that.
Okay. What's a fear that you outgrew and what finally made it lose its power?
Starting up a company without a
Mm.
doubt.
Hmm.
My fear was that I would fail or I'd be embarrassed or I wouldn't make any money, and I would let down my family.
Yep.
And then it's funny, I always had really good jobs,
Hmm.
like really good jobs, very prestigious jobs, right? I was VP of the Yankees, worked for George Steinbrenner, didn't, made a good salary, but I wasn't making real money. Then I worked for David Bowie in a .com, I was trying to make a lot of money there. We got the .net instead, didn't get the .com. And then I worked for Mike Bloomberg, right? So I kept getting all these awesome jobs and I started putting off starting my own thing. And then when I left the city of New York, I went to Mars because they were going to double. I basically ran out of money. I ran out of money working for the city of New York, still living in New York City, kids going to private school. You know, private school cost half of my government salary. I was like, I got to do something here.
Yeah.
So I go to Mars, and Mars is great. I don't want to say anything bad about Mars. I thought it was an amazing company, not for me. And that was the realization that I can't really work for anyone anymore. I've got to start my own
Yeah.
thing. And so in order to not totally screw it up the first time, I started it with three partners.
Mm-hmm.
And that sort of was my way to mitigate some risk, which was at the time it was a good idea because they had knowledge that I didn't, and it was easier to sort of do it together. We all did it together, and I'd say for like 4 or 5 years it worked out great. Then we grew apart, and then I had the confidence, and I had to do it myself the last
Yeah,
time. That was really
exactly.
props, right? I had to. So, you know, I was approaching 50. I was like, this is my last chance of doing this. I've got to do it. And because I, you know, got a bit of a divorce from my old partners, I was like, I got to do this on my own. And
Right.
so I was for the boats were burned, as they say. I had to
Yep.
succeed. I'm grateful for that episode of my life, and that I got over the fear of failing.
Last question. What is something you're trying to get better at right now, either professionally or personally?
Golf, without a doubt.
Hmm.
I I am obsessed with improving my golf game. It's interesting because it does require a lot of discipline. It requires a lot of stillness, which
Hmm.
I stink at. I just stink at being still. And that's what is really important about it. And I think, you know, I brought that to my business. I am less obsessed over being involved in the details because I have really good people. And I think my obsession with golf is like sort of mirrors that, is now I want to apply this to another discipline that's not
Interesting.
business. So
Yeah, really
yeah.
interesting. Well, listen, Joe, we are definitely going to, my gosh, between Steinbrenner, David Bowie, Michelle Obama, part 2 is definitely coming to get some stories from those experiences. But for this one, I cannot thank you enough, my friend.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad we met.
Thank you, Steve. All right. Good luck, Eagles.
I know you don't mean that.
I don't, but I want to be polite.
Thanks again.
See you, pal.
Well, that wraps up another episode of the CMO Whisperer Show. I hope you shared this episode with your friends. And if you have not already, please subscribe to be kept up to date on all the latest episodes. And if you're so inclined, leave me a review on your favorite podcast platform. Thank you.